Hello, welcome back. My name is Aladino, and together with my wife Maya, we are rebuilding a Cape George Cutter 36. However, Maya is not here this week, but Brian has come to help with nerding out about some more mechanical missions that we have on our list. Welcome back, Brian.
Oh, thank you.
One of the biggest priorities is to get the engine systems and components in working order. So we would like to focus on components that go in the bilge before putting in the engine. So we'd like to take care of raw water, so that's the cooling side of things, and then diesel. So we'll have a look at the tanks and filters and things like that. This will be a bit more technical video, but if you like things more engine related, then yeah, this will be an interesting one. New day, new missions. Yeah, well, glad to have you back.
Always glad to be here with you guys.
And so are we.
Always lots of fun. Yeah.
When the engine goes in, it needs a couple of things. It needs diesel, it needs water to cool it.
Aladino has a nice seawater strainer, and there's got to be a hole in the hull for the water to come in. Where that's going to go will determine how the hoses get led.
So we'll brainstorm location, best practices. Every boat is different, of course, so this is more of showcasing how we are installing the parts. So of course, behind me here is the engine room, and if I lift this teak grate here, then I get access to the bilge. Forward of that is water tank here, and here what you can see is the diesel tank. If I remove this portion, then that's where the lid for the diesel tank will be mounted. And that's how you get to the valves, and that's where all the pickups will then go either to the engine or to a future heater.
That's where you store all your fancy jewelry.
Exactly.
Yes.
So let's put this one on again for now, because now what is concerned is this bilge space. So we have decided to use this space, especially here on the sides, for the diesel filter and for the raw water strainer. Now, many boats have this in the engine bay, but it is pretty cramped in there, and we'd like to leave as much room to work around the engine as possible. But the idea is, as you can see, there will be a bilge pump, of course, and then we haven't decided on the side yet, but the diesel filter is going to go somewhere approximately like that. If we need to work on it, we can lift this whole thing out, or if we need to work more on the bilge pumps, and somewhere then we will also have the raw water strainer. Of course, in a manner that we can open the lid, get the filter element out. But the first thing concerned is the through hull for the raw water strainer.
X marks the spot for that?
Which X marks the spot, and that's the assembly. So I think we'll start off with drilling the hole. One thing that I did early on when we started this refit was close all the old through holes. Of course, removing them first, but then fiberglass all the holes. And I did that because if you're doing a rebuild of this magnitude, that is a small thing. And I really like to place them where I want them instead of having to build things around where they are. We also changed locations and changed number of through holes too, so it was just to have a clean slate. And now they also happen to all be on port side, so if anything was ever to fail, this is a small boat, but then it's also easier to trace things. You only have to check things on one side, so there's a bit of like a, I don't know if it is a safety feature. It's a really small boat. You could check starboard and port, but they're all on one side right now, which yeah, helps a little bit. Okay, we've drilled the hole. Now the next step is come up with the correct length of through hole. Of course, they supply these longer than you need because every hole is different. So we put it in place, and then Brian marked with tape where we are on the inside of the hole. So basically the yellow tape. So you can see that's the hole thickness, and where the tape ends, that's how much only goes in the hull. And then the next consideration is how much goes into the Seacock component. So we've threaded this in, measured how far it goes, and then we've just subtracted a 1/16 so that it doesn't bottom out. And then we mark this with blue tape. So the length of bronze visible plus yellow, that's what we're keeping, and instead the blue portion is what we're going to cut away now. So we have, just to confirm, the hull is going to stay as thick as it is, and then we have this, which is the portion that goes into the Seacock. So let's make the cut.
Go.
Now there's several different through hulls, they all have different missions. The one we are talking about now is for the raw water. Raw water is the cooling water for the engine. Now, if the engine has a heat exchanger, then it means that the engine gets cooled by sucking cold seawater through that through hull, through a strainer. It goes through the heat exchanger, and that's where how it cools down the engine. Don't worry, no tape was harmed during this. Okay, I'll file the edges a little bit. Edges are filed. Let's do a test run. So that much engages in the Seacock. There we've bottomed out, and that is less than the hull thickness. So it will sit somewhere here, but we have engaged these threads quite a bit. So looks like we have done things right. The through hull fit really well, although that part didn't get filmed. We have assembled the Seacock, and we've put the valve on it and the 90-degree elbow, so now we know its location. So after that we are putting in the raw water strainer, and we figured that this would be a good location for it. Have it about at the same height. We only need a very short run of hose right here, and then from here it continues, does a loop, and goes to the engine. But that basically leaves the starboard side free for the diesel filter. So the idea is that we'll place the diesel filter on this side and have it tucked in a little bit so that we can still get to the elements and get to the filters. And of course, we also still need to get a bilge pump in there. But so now that we have a game plan, we're going to fabricate plywood parts to actually affix, to actually hold these components in place. So that's going to be the next step.
That woman, she got a hold on me. She's the warmth of the summer, the color of spring. She's the strongest wind, the calmest breeze. That woman, she got a hold on me.
So after coming up with the location of the diesel filter and the raw water strainer, we have gone into full production of making plywood parts to support both units. Made a template first, that then became the piece of plywood, and then we had to bevel an edge, which is where it sits against the hull, which I'll show you as it goes in place. Now we have drilled out all the holes. The ones on the top are through bolted against the floor beams, and then the 4 bottom holes are to actually put the diesel filter on it. So, and Brian is cutting some bolts to length.
You're the kind of love I'm running to. Got a hold on me, got a hold on you. Got a hold on me, well, yes you do.
I think it goes without saying that yes, whenever something is put into the boat raw, it means it's not in its finalized stage. So all this plywood is going to be treated with epoxy or paint. Right now it was just about figuring out locations, cutting out things, dry fitting things.
That woman, she got a hold on me.
Wow, we are doing something right today. The plate fits beautifully against the hull. Pretty incredible how it fits. It's very, very nice. It's tucked away against the beam, and now the pump can actually the filters can actually go on to the 4 bolts that hold it. There we go. I can put a knot on it for having it in the safe location. Oh, there goes the knot.
In the bilge.
There it is. So next is going to be the same, but for the raw water strainer, and that's going to go behind this beam on this side. As you can see, it also sits against the hull here. And to get to the same height as the elbow of the raw water Seacock, we have to put on another piece of plywood to have it extend further out a little bit. So we have to do that still, but yeah, it's going well.
Add some blocks to it.
Exactly. All right, so next piece of the puzzle, now that we know where the diesel filter is housed, we can start thinking about how the hoses are run. And for that, we go into the next compartment here, which is the top of our diesel tank. And a while back I have fiberglassed the flange, so this gives us a big opening if we have to get access to the tank. But the other piece of the puzzle that we have started to assemble just now are these stainless plates. So I have modified the tanks slightly in that they were flush at the top, and they had all the ports, inputs and outputs just put into that flat surface. Instead, I have fiberglassed a neck that goes up and then has a flange that accepts a lid. I got the idea from our previous boat, Magic Carpet 1. That's how the water tank was done there. And I really liked it because, first of all, that opening is a bigger one, so it's also an inspection port if you really need to get to things, but also it puts all the inputs and output fittings in one location. And also, whenever you do get water in the bilge or things flowing along, it's not always right there along the fittings or along, more like plastic inspection hatches, which can break, which can leak. Things go directly into your diesel tank. You want to avoid having water in the diesel tank. So having this raised neck serves multiple purposes. And so I've done this a while ago, but now it's about seeing if we can get everything installed and built. And I also want to say a huge thanks to Robert for reaching out, first of all. He sent us an email and he said if you ever need help from a machinist, happy to contribute to the project. And indeed, I was thinking about those lids a couple of years ago now. So we sent back and forth ideas and templates, and he made these. So they're really a thing of beauty, work of art. So thanks a lot, Robert. Like I said, now that we know where the filter is, we played around for a little while of locating which fitting goes where. So we've decided to have them like this. So the supply for the engine is closest to the filter. This is a future supply for the heater. This is just a spare plug. And then we're also putting in a manifold. In the future, we'll put in a fuel pump that we don't have quite yet as well, so that we can polish fuel. And so we have a return from the polish and we have a return from the engine. So these are put in place. We've cut a gasket for it. Next we can drill the holes in the fiberglass flange, install this, still some more details. We have to put in the pipes that actually extend to closest to the bottom of the tank for the pickups, but it's coming together. So we'll continue for a bit, just touching up these details and then bring you up to speed again once we have a new update. Okay, so now we have put in all the fittings with Teflon tape and pipe compound, and on the back side we've also put in the tubes. These are of course for picking up the fuel, but also it is a requirement now to have the return dip into the fuel, and the second one is for this one here is for a future heater. And as you can see, we have a bit of a safety margin, so not to run out of diesel by using the heater. We might cut that one shorter one day just to give us more safety, but yeah, here it is. Let's put it in place. And so this one drops down here, goes through the opening. And that, by the way, is also why we have a lid made out of 2 pieces, because this opening here is of course restricted, so we couldn't place the bigger one, but I did want to have a bigger plate overall for if I really have to get better access to the diesel tank to clean it out. This would be a rather small opening, so that's why I made the flange larger. But yeah, that's why this little complication. But here it is. Doesn't it look nice now that it's all in place and designed? So this will be the fill. I have to notch out a tiny bit of the beam here because of the height. We used pretty thick Buna matte gasket material, which raised it by 1/4 inch twice, so 1/2 inch. So yeah, just to get enough height here. That's the next step. The holes are drilled in the flange. I'll get some fastener soon, through bolt it all. And yeah, soon here we can start making connections with hoses. So we've made great progress. I'm super happy with how far along this has come. Wow! Holy heck.
Nice and solid.
Nice and solid. Now the final touch.
There it is. Yay.
Thank you all so much for watching. I know this video was a little more technical and a little less filmed. Yeah, it's getting a little hectic, and I really wanted to make the most of having Brian here helping. But yeah, appreciate you watching, and Maya will be back next week. And Maya is still editing videos, of course. That has never been me. I don't have that skill, and I'm sure she'll do a fabulous job by adding whatever information I went missing during my filming.
Yes, although I wasn't here for the filming of this episode, I'm of course here for the edit and for this interview portion of the videos. It's always, yeah, basically a little behind the scenes process is we film as much as we can on the boat, and then I go through and watch everything that we filmed, and then I write an interview for Aladino to basically fill in the gaps and to narrate a bit of a story, put a bit of a red thread throughout the episode. And then I come into the boat and I set the camera up and I sit Aladino down and you know, sort of administer the interview as it were. So yeah, that's how it works. So these interviews are always filmed kind of after the actual episode is filmed. Anyhow, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. It was a bit of a different episode, but we'll be back next week with some more boat-related tasks and hopefully a bit more camera work. Big thank you for watching. I think I've already said that. My brain is all over the place right now. Big thank you to the names now appearing on screen for always going the extra mile to make sure that these episodes keep being produced. It has been a long road and we really couldn't have done it without you. As we sort of chug ever closer towards the finish line, we're just ever more grateful that we have had your support throughout this entire thing, because it wouldn't have been able to go on without you. So thank you. Really big thanks to all the patrons, and if you'd like to become a patron for as little as $2 a month, that will give you access to weekly real-time updates, so you know what's going on in real time including what's happening in real time with the launch and stuff. So that's all exciting. And big thank you to everybody. I think I've said this so many times. Okay, I need to sign off. My brain is not functional today. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.